boundaries. Just like some people have seasonal allergies, you can have seasonal boundaries, all right? Like Jazz, all right, I got you. I hear you. Where you going with?
To some, boundaries are just placing limits. To me, it's where the limitless things begin.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Boundaries and More podcast with Jess Abraham. I am your host, Jess Abraham, and today's episode, of course, is brought to you by Joyful Styles. Joyful Styles is a lifestyle brand that provides premium quality apparel that promotes joy and positivity. Joyful Styles believe how we approach a situation matters, and choosing to be joyful makes all the difference. You have the power and it's time to embrace it. Let's go. All right, head over to joyfulstyles.com. That's JOYFULSTYLEZ.com and get your Joyful Styles gear. While you're at it, for being such a great listener to this podcast, get you a discount as well. Get you a nice low percentage off and let's rock this Joyful Styles gear. All right, let's get into it. I'm super excited for this episode. Like, it's something that's been on my heart and I kind of brought it to the forefront. It's something I was going to wait to talk about later, but nah. We need to talk about it right now. And I'm super excited to get into it. Real simple. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about seasonal boundaries, okay? Seasonal boundaries. Just like some people have seasonal allergies, you can have seasonal boundaries, all right? Like Jazz, all right, I got you. I hear you. Where you going with this? Like, what we talking about? Like, for example, right, getting right into it, making it real practical. For example, when I was in the military, there were times where I had to study for the promotion test, right? So during those times, especially the very first time that I ever had to test, like going into E5, right? Staff sergeant for your Air Force folks out there. I definitely had to I wasn't doing some of the things I would normally do because I made sure I took the time to really focus and study my information for the test, right? So what did I mean? What did it look like? I wasn't necessarily watching as much TV as I probably would have watched before then. I wasn't necessarily going out and hanging out and being out all crazy times like I would have back then. Just different things like that, right? So I had to put boundaries in place where I'm like, nope, this is what you want. You want to get to the next level. You want to make that rank. Then this is what you do. I put these things in place and I made time to study every day. I don't recall exactly how much in advance I studied before the test, but I know how I go. I can't study for a year for a test. That's just not my swag. God bless me to not have to do that when it comes to academics and whatnot. So, but I put that stuff in place where I just wasn't doing the same things that I was doing before. I had to cut it out. And again, we call this episode what? Seasonal boundaries. So it was just for a season. This wasn't something I was putting in place forever. It was just doing these for 3 or so months, however long I was studying. That's where these things take place. Like, okay, after that, hey, I go party with the friends, hang out late at night, whatever it is that I wanted to do during those times after and before it was time for me to buckle down and study for the promotion test. I just put things in place seasonally during that season, that study season, to make sure that I handle my business on that test. When those results came back, it showed that I handled my business on that test. Okay. Yes, it is what it is. I'm very grateful, very thankful for the work I put in. So yes, because I did that and put those things in place, I made rank the very first time I tested. Like some people, my military folks out there know that some people test and don't necessarily make it on the first try. And it's okay because you do your thing, you handle your business, for different reasons. People don't make it or whatever. But I just know that this is what I wanted and I want it to be one and done. Personally, I don't like taking tests. So I wanted to make sure I put these things in place so I can focus during this very, very short amount of time, so that when the test came, I could just knock it out the park. And that's exactly what I did. Hit that rank the first time. All right. So that's just an example of me when I was doing things studying for promotion tests in the military. You can relate that to your world, however you see fit. Another example is when I initially, like, I'm on a hiatus right now, a little break from it. But initially, when I was starting my master's program, what I did again is temporary, right? The master's program typically take like 2 years and whatnot. Again, I've taken breaks from it. I'm actually on a break from my master's program right now. Just a couple more classes left to have that master's degree. But anyway, what I did for it was about, I think it had to be about, especially when we most of us was at home. I believe a good bit of that I got done in 2019 and 2020, like straight back to back. I was going classes, doing my stuff online, submitting, whatever all the requirements were that I was doing for those particular classes, doing my master's degree. All right. At this time, back when I was studying for my promotion test, I was single, super single, not worrying about a thing, no one, no none of that stuff, right? So, but this time, being in my master's program, I had already started dating my then girlfriend, now wife, but we had to like set things in place. Like, okay, babe, the focus this year, right? This focus is my master's degree, so this is what I'm working on. And what we had to do, put boundaries in place when it was time for me to study or time for me to do my discussion posts and all that stuff. My wife let me be, right? We didn't, for a short period of time, she had went to Japan and I was living in Florida, but we had been apart even then. So it's like even more so important for our communication, et cetera, as we were long distance for that short period of time. But either way, we put things in place. Hey, babe, I can't talk during this time and that time. I got to study. Got the discussion posts, things of that sort. That was just for that period, that time period, right? It wasn't going to be our relationship always. It's just like, okay, this is the focus right now. I need to have these seasonal boundaries in place to make sure that I am handling my business, right? I say handling my business in these classes. And that's what I did. I don't know about, I probably many of us, if we really take time to just focus on the things that we desire, the things we want, and what we're doing, like it can kind of seem a little easy to us, right? Like it just all it requires is that focus. And that's really what putting these seasonal boundaries in place comes to, is that focus. For again, it's seasonal, so it's a short amount of time. That short amount of time can be a month, it can be a year, it can be 2 years. But 2 years in comparison to your whole life or your whole relationship or your whole all that is just short term, temporary, seasonal, right? So sometimes these seasonal boundaries are necessary, and we put these things in place to make it happen. When I start back after this break, it's been a hefty little break so far. But after this break, when I get back into my master's program, just to finish it up again, just a couple more classes. That's it. So I know I will get it done. But like when it comes time to hop back in that program, me and my wife, I haven't even started my program back yet, but we're already talking about it. Like, all right, baby, we're doing this time. This is what we'll be doing. This is how we're going to be operating, et cetera, et cetera. And she knows because I give her the same respect when it comes to her schooling and things of that sort. Again, right now, currently, I'm in a mastermind, right? And what does that look like? Sometimes, baby, hey, I know we want to be binge watching our shows right now, but this assignment, this video, this coaching, this coaching session, and whatever it is I need to get completed, I need to be focused on, I need to get done. And then we'll get back to our wife time. Believe that. We're going to get back to our wife time, watching the TV, looking at whatever shows we want to watch, or having whatever we're doing, out and about, whatever that looks like. But during this time, this is what the focus will be, right? Now, don't get it twisted. Don't necessarily neglect other responsibilities you have. Me as a wife, I believe I have wife responsibilities, right? So even though I put these seasonal boundaries in place, have these things going on, it is still my responsibility to be an amazing wife to my wife. That's just my choice, what I believe, and that's what I do. Again, part of that comes from communicating, right? One of the things I talked about in the previous episode, telling you how important it is to communicate. Doesn't matter what it looks like. That's what needs to happen. So when you are putting these boundaries in place, or like your significant other don't come to you like, oh, you acting funny because you're doing this and that. Like, communicate these things and let them know, baby, it's just temporary. I promise you, it's just temporary. Just this season right here, it just requires a little extra focus, a little extra concentration, and that's what you get done. Seasonal, right? Seasonal boundaries, seasonal boundaries. Another thing, I can relate it to my military career, just seasonal boundaries, right? Oftentimes, well, I'll speak from my own experience. I know people that have certain similar experience to me, but oftentimes when the military, well, me, when I was in the military and I was transitioning from one duty station to another duty station, that's important to me in my life to do such, right? However, it wasn't necessarily as important to the other people around, the people that I work with, the leadership team, the supervisors, the whomever. They didn't necessarily care like I cared about transitioning to my next duty station. All right. So, what did I have to do? I made sure I made time, right? Like, I'm gonna get their little work done. We're gonna do some stuff. However, and also some of these things gonna be passed on to somebody else, because what needs to happen before somebody need to be trained on this or whatever, because I'm not gonna be continuously working on this until my very last day, and then I have no time to do the things that's necessary to, we call it in the military PCS, or permanent change of station, right? So change from this duty station to the next duty station. If I didn't put things in place, seasonal boundaries, because it didn't necessarily need to be there always, but if I didn't have my seasonal boundaries in place during that transition season from one duty station to the next, man, I'm telling you, these people would have had me working into the last day. I want to have my bed and my everything shipped and packed up that I need to, because what happens is during these times, you have appointments. It's just so many things that goes on when you're transitioning from one duty station to the next. I'm telling you, but it would have worked me if I didn't like, nope. All right, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get certain work done, but however, somebody else gonna be trained on XYZ, so we're covered, right? So don't think I'm just abandoning you and everybody else. We're gonna make sure things are covered, but I got this appointment I'm gonna go to. I gotta get this stuff scheduled with the household goods team. I gotta get, there's things I need to do. I need some medical appointments, all these different things I will get taken care of because it's important to me. And what happens sometimes, these boundaries aren't necessarily important to other people, right? So you have to show them the importance, make it important. Like, what's happening is that I have to take care of me. And even if that's like forcefully in a way, right? Again, not everybody will respect what you have going on. Not everybody will care what you have going on. Again, this is not everybody's experience, but especially for me and certain experience and what I've seen with people that I know and certain situations that I've been in the military, man, I'm telling you, man, they just want what they want. They want their stuff done. They don't necessarily care what you got going on. They got mission first. That's the motto for them, and it's just like, nope, that just wasn't gonna work for me. Especially, oh man, one of the biggest things had to be a seasonal boundary. I had to put in place and make sure that I was doing certain things. Is like when I was transitioning out of the military, that's huge. Like going from one duty station to another is one thing, because you're still in the military. You kind of still know the different rules, different things going to happen. Just as it's just going to be at a new place with new people, etc., doing the same job, etc. However, transitioning out of the military was a whole new ball game. Like there was stuff I had to do that I didn't know I had to do. So there were things I didn't know I didn't know. But as I found out, I had to put things in place to make sure that I got certain things accomplished. Again, people, they would have worked me to the very last day. But I made sure I didn't. I transitioned, man, y'all, I'm telling you, I transitioned so well to like down to the date, the time, the everything. It just worked out because I planned it and made sure I put things in place because I know how they can go. I made sure my replacement got there, made it all nice for, received her well, like all these different things. Like, so I did my part on the front end So like they're not bothering me. Like legit, you can ask me a question here and there, but starting now, just pretend I'm not even here because I am transitioning out. I am leaving. Had to put things in place, right? Boundaries. I had to put these seasonal boundaries in place. For that, again, that was just a transition season for me transitioning out of the military. But you know, I tell people that I know in the military or just around because it applies outside of the military as well. No one's going to care about you and your career or none of that stuff as much as you. Nobody, not your leadership team, not your significant other necessarily. Like nobody going to care about your stuff like you're going to care about your stuff. So you must, even like I said, sometimes it must be even forcefully put these things in place so that you take care of you, get what you need to get done, and making sure you're communicating to the people around you. So, yes, when it came to school and this mastermind, all that stuff, I communicated with my wife, like, they know, hey, baby, when these things start or why these things are going on, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. She accepts that. All right. When I was transitioning out of the military, well, first to a new duty station, then out of the military, all that stuff, I communicated with my leadership team like, hey, this is what it looks like. I want to make sure XYZ is squared away so that they can answer all your questions and make things happen. But like, I must focus on getting this thing done for me outside of what's going on here. Because I'm telling you, man, people like, I don't. There are some people, again, I've mentioned many times and I'll keep mentioning it because I need to get this out there that not everybody has your best interests in mind, right? There are some people that do, and they don't necessarily mean to be, disrespecting your boundaries in a way. They don't necessarily mean to, but what they're so focused on and what they care about more is what they want and what they got going on. And the military is the mission and that's what they care about more. Like during my time, I know things are changing in the military now. They seemingly starting to be a little more people focused, but that wasn't always my situation for my tenure in the military. Like that just wasn't the case. So, but I made it the case for me because I knew regardless of what, I had to make sure I take care of me. All right. So I think you all get the picture and what that kind of looks like, right? Seasonal boundaries, putting that in place. Again, making sure you communicate with whomever is around you or whomever you need to communicate with, letting them know, like, hey, if this is significant other, hey, babe, during this time to that time, this gonna be the focus. I'm gonna make sure we're good, but I want you to know I'm not being like distant or stand. I'm just focused on this task at hand, getting this thing done. If that's studying again for some type of promotion test or studying for school or whatever it is that's happening, me what that looks like. Again, in the mastermind, building a business, building multiple businesses, like all of that, right? It matters to me more than anybody else, and I must put seasonal boundaries in place to get these things done. Again, communicating it to all the people around me. You're not in the military necessarily, but you're working a job and certain things and you need to get stuff done. Just communicate with the people around you. Like I know some jobs are not like others, some might be more lenient, etc. But just as long as you're communicating these things with the people around you, typically they go over well, right? It depends on your environment. It's every situation always depends, right? But it's the truth. Making sure you communicate these things with people will make it a smoother transition for you, especially during times of transitions and seasons of transitioning. Putting those boundaries in place, letting people know what it is, what's happening, what's going on. People tend to be a little more receptive of that. So that's what I want you guys to go out and do. Communicate whatever's going on in your life, and you need some time, you need some focus time, you need to focus on building you. Maybe that looks like, oh, during this season, I'm going to counseling or therapy or whatever. Let that be known, maybe to some of the people around you. You don't have to let everybody in the whole world know, but just communicate certain things. And and make sure you point out those boundaries you have for that time period. All right. That's all for today. Again, I thank you for tuning into the Boundaries and More podcast. Man, check the next episode, all right? Be here next week for more. And also follow us on Instagram at Boundaries and More Podcast. Over there on our Instagram, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment. Like, let's go more into dialogue, whatever it is. If you have questions, let me know your questions. Also, you can hit the DM and Boundaries and More Podcast on Instagram. Let me know your questions. If you want to go deeper, you want to work on some one-on-one type stuff, hit me up and we can discuss more, go from there. We can do some type of consultation, calls, whatever. Just look, make things happen, all right? You all go out and have a beautiful, beautiful day implementing them seasonal boundaries. All right, see y'all next week.